Welcome to the Growth Buyer Podcast, where we engage with top business leaders who share their experiences and provide real insights that help them attract customers, retain staff, and grow their bottom line. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hello there. My name is Kevin Horgan. I'm the host of the show, where I feature inspired business leaders from various backgrounds and industries willing to share their stories and insights. Our podcast today is brought to you by Spinutech. Spinutech is a leading digital advertising agency with 160 team members across the United States. Spinutech's mission is to help its clients attract new customers, retain their clients, and grow those clients, often ending in increased revenue, earnings, and customer satisfaction. Spinutech, thank you for your sponsorship. I'm proud today to bring on a guest named Bob Murphy. Bob is the Chief Revenue Officer of Patra Corporation. At Patra, Bob leads all sales and marketing and strategic initiatives to help scale Patra's business, develop new technologies, and continue to provide top-level service to Patra's customers. In addition to his role at Patra, Bob has served many cloud lending solutions and numerous positions in the financial and technical services industry. Bob, welcome to our podcast.
Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it, and happy to be here.
Yeah, good to see you. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Bob, we're both in marketing, and we all heard about that elevator speech. Can we get the 2-minute introductory elevator speech of Bob Murphy, please?
Yeah, sure. Been in business a long time, and when I say long, I mean over 40 years now. Born in Montana, grew up in Oregon, live in California, and throughout my career, I've been in technology my whole career. I've worked at big companies, small companies, good companies, bad companies, ones with strong cultures. Ones with no culture, 6 publicly traded companies, and some startups. And my business career has given me the opportunity to travel around the world. I've done business in 36, 37, almost 40 countries, and it's just been a great experience and still having fun.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. That really does. So Bob, we've known each other for about 4 or 5 years now, and at Patra is where we first got to know each other. You were brought in as the Chief Revenue Officer, and can you tell us a little bit about when you were brought on board there, what the goal of what your role was going to be, and maybe what the top 3 priorities are when you started there 4 or 5 years ago, and maybe we'll continue learning the journey. But you were asked to join there, and what was the goal? What was the challenge? What was the opportunity?
Yeah, well, when I was brought in, the company was maybe 35 million in revenue, had been bootstrapped from 0 to 35 million, which was really quite an accomplishment, and 3 or 4 salespeople, 1 or 2 marketing people, but brought in to really bring it to the next level. So really formalize how we go to market, really build out, a full-scale sales and marketing team and structure. And so really brought on to do that, but really, continue the growth, but really to take the company to the next level and the next level of maturity. So really that's what I've done in my, past 5 years, coming up on my 5-year anniversary here at Patra.
Yeah, that's great. So, you shared it was, maybe in the mid-30s revenue, founder-led, and then you're brought in to really help this thing scale. What were maybe the first 3 priorities you saw the opportunity to take was amazing company that got to the size it had? What were the 3 big things that you saw that you thought that those changes may take it to the next level as you shared?
Yeah, I mean, it was an amazing accomplishment to get it to that point, but really to build out, I keep using the word GTM or go to market, but build out a scalable go to market system, how we look at the markets, how we build the brand, and how we acquire customers. So build that out for the company that is appropriate for a company of that size. Structurally do that. Then secondly, probably the most important thing is build the team. You need talent. So building out the team. I think when I joined, we might have had 4 or 5 people that I'd inherited in my organization. We're up to about 36 people now, and that's continuing to grow. But doing that, i.e. build the go-to-market structure, infrastructure, build the team, all that's done to continue driving growth. And so certainly driving top line growth of revenue, Chief Revenue Officer, right, but also profitability as well. And making sure we're delivering value and getting margin for the services that we sell.
Yeah, that's great. I love your go-to-market strategy. And in your journey, what you've been doing with Patra right now, do you have a good sense of how much of your growth today from new business that you're getting, how much of it is like an inbound marketing component versus how much might be an outbound sales component? Or can you tell us how you're managing that go-to-market strategy from a marketing perspective and from a sales perspective? And then maybe I'll leave it there. Maybe what's a marketing perspective and what's a sales perspective?
Yeah, I think, the short answer, it depends. And what I mean by that, it depends on the market segment. And so when there's a portion of the market that's the smaller companies that we go after, it's more inbound marketing to them reaching out or reaching back to us in terms of how we can help them. For the bigger entities, it's more of an enterprise sale. So it's a salesperson, direct salesperson, reaching out to them to get the discussion going, and then getting the foot in the door and then penetrating a big account like that. So that really ties back to our go-to-market system, our go-to-market infrastructure, because the fundamental piece of that is how we segment the markets and then how we cover those markets from a marketing and from a sales point of view. It's really customized based on the dynamics of that market.
So if I heard you correctly, you're really it's the segmented market that you're looking at. So a vertical market, am I assuming a vertical market maybe?
Well, we're in the insurance industry. We're a tech-enabled services provider to the insurance industry. And, so when we stand back and look at the insurance industry in the United States, and I'm not an insurance expert, but I've learned about the structure of the market. So there's retail brokers, people that we as consumers and businesses deal with daily.
Right.
Then in the middle, there's managing general agents, MGAs, and wholesalers. And at the other end are the entities that develop the products, the carriers. And so we're segmented around those major components. But then within retail brokers, as an example, there's about 35,000 of them in the US. Then we break that up into 3 subsegments based upon their size, and then deploy appropriate sales and marketing against them.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. In the inbound side of that, can you share a little bit about the journey of an inbound lead to a closed won customer? Can you talk a little bit about that journey?
Well, it depends on kind of the advertising or using our inside sales team to reach out to them, or maybe some direct mailing that we're doing for them via our CRM. Yeah. Then the response rates go through the MQL, SQL process. So kind of very, very traditional, Kevin, in that regard. And then once they come in, and then back to that coverage model or the go-to-market structure, then we know where to assign that account to. But from our point of view, it's very traditional in using these strong digital marketing tools that I know so well, and that you and your company are experts at. Of using those as effective as we can, and measuring and understand what's working, and then try and scale it, and then what's not working, either fix it or stop doing it. So,
Bob, so I know you fairly well, and you're a pretty mild-mannered, good guy. A lot of people I work for, and a lot of companies I know, chief revenue officer role could come with a lot of pressure. Mm-hmm. Can you share, where you feel that pressure and how you find some kind of balance?
Yeah, I mean, mild-mannered, but I'm very competitive, in that regard. But, for me, pressure is kind of maybe self-inflicted. If you have a very strong plan and people understand your plan in terms of what you're trying to accomplish, and then you keep people in the loop on how you're progressing against your plan, to me, that's the fundamental thing. And there's really not a lot of pressure in there. Now, where the pressure comes from is when you're not making your plan.
Right.
And so you have to, be very transparent about that, but then be prepared to answer the question, then, if you're not making your plan, what are you doing about it? Right. There should be some form of corrective action you need to take. And so that's just kind of fundamentally how I operate. I don't like surprises, pro or con. I mean, I don't like bad news, but what I mean is surprise, like somebody says, we just closed a really big deal, and I'm thinking, I've never heard of that deal. You don't have it in the pipeline, right. So but you think that's a positive surprise, but I don't like surprises. but so the other side of the coin, I don't like surprising people as well. So I think, again, just have a very solid plan, and then execute your plan, but make sure people understand the progress you're making against that plan. And so that's just kind of how I handle pressure. But if you are well prepared, then that alleviates the pressure. I find when I'm pressure, maybe if you go into something you feel you're a little bit nervous, it's because you're not prepared. So
right.
preparation and planning certainly alleviate that.
No, that's well spoken. And sounds like you've gone from 3 or 4 people that you started with on the sales team to now 36 and growing and stuff of that nature. The growth of the company that you're seeing, and that's it sounds like that's 10x growth. I don't know if revenue's grown 10x or not, but I'm assuming you've got significant growth. You talk about profitable growth. In that, has the growth been because you've been able to gobble up market share, or has the products that you sell diversified and grown to help with the revenue expansion as well?
Good question. I think, the industry we're in, again, a service provider, the insurance industry, one doesn't need to be an expert in insurance to understand it's probably a very, very big industry, which it is. So there's the market for what we do is big. Right now, the penetration rate for what we do is not real high. So I'm not suggesting the growth and the sales activity, therefore, is very, very easy. It needs to be targeted. But, the way I look at it is kind of that first level of low-hanging fruit is where the growth has come from. So we've enjoyed that, deployed sales and marketing teams, to garner that those opportunities. But as we start penetrate more, and again, back what I said, it's a big market, low penetration. What does that do? Well, that attracts competitors or other companies. So we're getting more competition. So we have to be better from our messaging, better from our execution, and then make sure we're really deploying resources where the opportunity is. And so that's really the challenge I'm facing now. And, to be able to do that, you have to have a very good understanding of the marketplace and, where the growth is coming from and so forth. So, but it has been the big part of the growth, I think, to summarize it, Kevin, is deeper penetration of our existing customers who happen to be very, very big, multi-billion-dollar per year companies.
And there's just more opportunity inside those businesses to be able to continue to expand in those companies. And so you've been able to just find a path to expose more of what your company can do to them. And they've been in agreement to continue to expand their business with you, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, that is exactly right. And it's really at 2 levels. One is a geographic expansion, because some of these bigger companies might delegate decision-making or purchasing authority down to regional presence. So it's almost like a sale into each region, but at least it's a warm lead. So it's that, and then but bringing in new services, back to what you just said, new products and services to them once you're in there. So the traditional terms that both you and I know quite well, cross-selling and upselling.
Upselling, right? Yeah. No. Yeah. So, Bob, when we started this conversation, you were brought into this company just shy of 5 years ago, and it was a privately held company, and still privately held, but not too long ago, your company chose to take on an private equity partner, and I assume for some ideas of some even faster growth and things of that nature. Can you share a little bit about the experience of going from the original structure that you are into the new structure you are in now today?
Yeah, I got to be deeply involved in that project myself. Obviously, the CEO, the chief financial officer, and our chief legal officer. It was really a fun project. Basically, we recapitalized the company. It was time for the original shareholders to be able to, as they say, take their money off the table. They were very, very patient, and had been around for 14, 15 years. So we brought in a growth equity company, FTV Ventures. We announced that end of August, early September of last year. And we did so that they could help us with this next level of growth. And so myself and the CFO, Simon Davis, had started a relationship with them, FTV, and many others 2-3 years ago. So we got to know each other. And then when we formalized this process to bring in an equity partner, then, as I say, we were having discussions with people that we got to know pretty well, but we were having discussions with them with all the cards on the table.
Yep.
So that's been a really fun process. We're up and running with them, like I said, since September, and we're getting to know each other on a day-to-day deeper basis and whatnot. And they've got a really neat program in terms of helping operators within the company, and then a global partner network to give us opportunities and leads. And so we definitely want to take advantage of that. And I can see that they're going to be a really good partner to help us, with this next level of growth over the next 3, 4, 5 years, whatever that may be.
And it's so pleasant to hear you talk about the experience with a private equity partner being something. It sounds like you've had a great run and a great journey. It sounds like you build relationships for a few years prior, so you had an opportunity to really get to know each other on both sides. And it sounds like you're having a great run with it so far. I think there's an old saying. Someone had a bad experience, they tell 10 people, but if they had a great experience, they only tell one. And I have so many clients who have gone the private equity route, and they mostly shared that experience. But it has such a there's so many stories about bad experiences out there too. I just don't think the good experiences get exposed as much, because most people only they tell 10 people about a bad experience, but only one person tells about a good. And so it's positive to hear just another great experience that you've had.
Yeah, just on that note, Kevin, if you don't mind, when we were going through the process, and maybe we can talk about this, but Patra has a really strong culture, and it's a byproduct of our CEO, John Simpson. And so a cultural fit was really, really important for him. And we believe we found that in FTV. But, if you stand back with what they do, or whether it's a venture capital company, or whether it is, a different scale of a private equity company, or whether you're public, there is still scrutiny on you as a company to perform.
Yes.
And we are very, very mindful of that. And so, so we're certainly prepared to do that. But again, it wouldn't matter with the type of ownership structure you have. There's that old saying I learned a while ago. If you're making your number, that's great. If you're not making your number, you'll get a lot of help you didn't ask for.
Right.
So,
that's so funny. I'm gonna borrow that one. People joke that I'm full of a bunch of famous phrases. I think that's going to add that to the collection. You're not making your number, you're going to have a whole lot of help around you. And so,
that you didn't ask for. Yeah. Feel free to use it. I didn't coin the phrase.
Yeah. If there's a trademark, I'll pay you some royalties on it. But
okay, I'll take it.
I think I can repurpose that one. Well, it's great to hear that. As you went from the structure that you had before into this, now being a growth equity partner, how has forecasting changed?
It's changing. Our business is unique. It's a little difficult to forecast, but there's more eyes on the numbers. There's more very talented eyes on the numbers. It's causing us to take a much deeper look at our business. Certainly, a growth equity company will come at it from their angle, just maybe sometimes a little different than an operator, which is good. It's a different perspective. And so it's really, it's good in that, because I'm a big believer in numbers. Fully understanding your numbers allows you to understand the dynamics of your business model, and your marketplace. So it's good in that regard. But yeah, there's certainly a lot of, as I say, eyes, and very talented eyes on pipeline, conversion rates to revenue, profitability, et cetera. So, but that's expected.
It's expected.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Just good, good business discipline, right?
Yeah. It's more thorough. More rigorous. More rigorous, I think, is probably the right term.
And I would guess, everybody has an opportunity to make sure the story that they're seeing and hearing is the same story and communicated well, and just more eyes on the business, and it brings clarity and probably less friction. I mean, like you say, if you're not making your numbers, it's one thing, but just get some added visibility on the business, and everybody probably more in alignment because they have an opportunity to have that additional visibility and ask questions if they have any.
Yeah, back to what we just chatted about a minute ago. Just no surprises.
No surprises. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a CEO coach years ago, and he used to share with me that you should really, share with people, your leaders and stuff like that, that no surprises is the expectation, and it isn't just bad news. And like you said, hey man, we just won this great deal. There's a victory in that, but there's also a lack of expectations being met, because there shouldn't be surprises on either side of the equation. And, he would say, even when you have the positive surprises, if they're surprises like that, they seem like they were accidental. And how do you want to get more intentional about those things so they're not surprises? And so he would always, he instilled in me that, surprises are something that should not exist within your organization. And you'll find that by running without surprises, that you'll have alignment better with your team. And he was quite true with all of that stuff. And we definitely learned to, be able to be more comfortable communicating good news or bad news. And, there's an old saying, and I have a lot of them, but unlike fine wine, bad news doesn't get better.
Exactly.
And so I like the no surprises thing. I think that's a great thing that the audience here can, just take into their process and understanding.
And clarity. Like I say, I like to deal in clarity. Again, whether it's good news or bad news, and have not think. I wonder what they were just trying to say. Let's just deal with clarity. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I'm going to ask you two more questions. And one of them is, there's an old saying. I just said that again, but there's an old saying. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Or adversity creates opportunity is another one that I like to use from time to time. I think there are very few businesses that COVID didn't have an impact for, but, when I have conversations with you and, being in the space that you're in, where you have a lot of call centers and things of that nature, COVID was probably, something very disruptive for your organization. Can you talk a little bit about how COVID impacted you, how your organization responded, what you've learned and how you made it through it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it did and whatnot, but I think the short answer is it shut us down.
Yeah.
It has made us a better company, and it showed what kind of people and culture we have in that we worked our way through it and how we worked our way through it. But it was none of us in our careers have ever faced a crisis like that. Company has had a crisis, or an industry's had a crisis, but this is a global crisis. So we have processing centers around the world. We have a handful of them in India. And I woke up one Saturday morning to, I think, 60 some odd Zoom messages. Now, COVID was unfolding. Things in the US were shutting down at this point in time. But I woke up, and the start of that message was the country of India had shut down. The country of India had shut down, meaning people had to stay home. So we couldn't get people to work, to do the work for our customers. And so that just created this incredibly well-organized, all hands on deck at our company of, how we were going to execute work for our customers. So we were doing some of it in the US. We were trying to get these computer systems that were in our office to people so they could work from home and buy more, so more people could work from home. But without getting into those details, it was I often thought we should have really tracked it and written it down. We can probably put our heads together to do it, because I think it was a great Harvard business case study in terms of how we got through it. But at the end of the day, I think that there's no real, not per se lessons learned here, but I think the culture of our company from our CEO John Simpson of okay, it is what it is. We can't sit around and complain about it. We were meeting 2 times per day, deep meetings with the crisis team, working 14, 18 hours a day to work our way through it. And it was all hands on deck, and people were trying to do work for customers. So that was really one aspect of it. But the other aspect of it was looking our customers in the eyes and saying, we cannot do work for you for the foreseeable future. We had to be very direct. And we couldn't mislead, like saying, gee, Kevin, I think we might be up and running by Friday, when I knew well that wasn't going to be the case. We did not do that. And so I personally had many, discussions with customers, and was me along with other executives and many customer-facing people. We're having those type of conversations. But at the end of the day, it was just being very, very truthful with them and not misleading them. And they understood. They may not have liked it, but they greatly respected, again, the clarity and truthfulness to it. So, but yeah, it's made us a better company. We've learned from it, and it was monumental effort by a lot of really talented people here at Patra to pull that off around the globe.
Yeah, that's a great story. I love the look the clients in the eye, and while you couldn't tell them what they wanted to hear, you told them what they needed to hear.
Yeah.
And probably reassured them that as soon as you could own it, you would, but you couldn't set an expectation as to when that would be, because you truly didn't know it. And you didn't feign it. You didn't create a false hope in their mind that maybe relieve them of some immediate pressure, but you set a realistic expectation.
Yeah.
That takes courage to be able to do. As a leader in a company, it's the right thing to do. It takes courage to tell people bad news. And so, so often, sometimes we tell the hopeful message, but we might not know that's not necessarily the realistic message. And that's applaudable that you and your company did that. And it's great that we all became a better company because of COVID. I mean, I could say our company became a better company because of COVID as well. It made us do things we didn't know we were able to do. Your government shut down in India. One day we decided we're going to work from home starting tomorrow. We never tried it before, but we fought our way through it. We were successful in being able to do that.
Yeah.
And today we're still a company who's optional to go into work. We have 5 offices, but we let our team make the decision as to where they want to work, as long as they're getting their work done. And that was something that they had sought for a long period of time, and we didn't have the courage to move forward with it. But COVID didn't give us an option, and we're a better business because we've been able to go through that as well.
Kevin, I want to comment on something you said about kind of looking somebody in the eye and delivering that news. And it's difficult. In my opinion, it's not difficult, nor should it be. I think I'll just speak for myself here. I mean, to look somebody in the eye and be really truthful and not mislead them, to me, is easy.
Yeah.
To look you in the eye and maybe tell you something that I think might happen, but I'm not really sure. For me, that's hard.
I agree with you. Actually, I agree.
And saying I heard a long time ago, since you've had sayings, I get to say one, but I forget where I heard this from, and it was not really at a work kind of thing. It was something else, and the saying was truth over harmony. And it's a good saying. That saying works at work, and that saying works at home, works in your friendships and relationships. And so I just try and practice that as wherever I can.
No, and I absolutely agree with that. I tell our team all the time, I don't want anybody to be providing any information or any recommendations to a customer they don't believe in themselves. Don't do it because you're told to do it. Do it because you believe in it. It's the right thing to do. And I think when you have a culture like that, then it isn't difficult to deliver that type of message because you believe it to be the right thing to do. And all too often there's experiences where people are being told to do things that aren't necessarily going to happen. I hate to be around an organization that's how they run. And we certainly all have experiences where we've been around that before.
Yeah. You're just making things difficult at that point. Yeah.
I often learned, I don't know how the airline industry gets away with it, but it seems to be the industry that's allowed to misrepresent the truth more than any other.
We'll be taking off any minute now.
It's just such, I don't know how the industry gets away with it. We've now just learned to live with that's the way it is. I told you a moment ago that I had 2 more questions for you, and I lied to you. I now have 2 more questions for you. Okay. And so, as we're starting a new year here, what do you see on the horizon here for us that may be different than what we experienced in 2022?
I think the first thing that pops in my mind, Kevin, is just this, the economy, and whatever we hear about the economy. I mean, it kind of differs, that we are in a recession, or we're heading into recession. Then we get some news that GDP was up, or employment news was up and whatnot. But, I think once that gets in the news, then people do start slowing down. So
right.
I think that's, certainly something that is top of mind for us. Having said that, we have a plan and, our in a strategy, and we're sticking to that and executing against that. But, we will indeed factor in, elements of the economy, whether we think there's going to be slowness here. But actually, a slow economy actually helps for the type of work we do in terms of our value proposition. So we'll look to leverage that in the marketplace. But sure. I think that's the first thing that pops in my mind. And then we've got this ongoing item that, you and I and many others have experienced for the last 20, 30 years, but just, the advancements of technology and what that's going to do to the insurance industry or people like us that provide services to the insurance industry. So right. That continues to move fast. So we definitely keep our eyes on that. And then our customers are consolidating. So, but normal stuff, normal right. things.
Right.
And, I think my mode now, kind of back to what we just talked about, all of that is very, very manageable as compared to the COVID crisis. So
right.
Seems like that's not as formidable as the way we used to look at it.
No, that is very true. Very well spoken. My last question for you, Bob, is where do you get your inspiration? Where do you learn from? Where do you get, where do you get smarter? Where do you grow from? What might, what are the sources of where you get inspired?
Well, where I get inspired, kind of, handful of places. First off, from the people I work with. I'm very, very fortunate. I get to work with a lot of really smart, talented people. So I like learning from them. Younger people have different perspectives. Engineer might have a different perspective than a finance person. So just kind of understanding, people's different perspectives. So that helps. Seeing what's unfolding, both pro and con in our world, news-wise, you can learn from that. But
Right.
I think the kind of the biggest thing that maybe inspires me is just, myself, holding myself accountable. And at the end of the day, somebody asked me this question: what really drives you? And as you get older, you kind of able to summarize it a little bit better. But for me, it's I love to compete. I love to compete. Growing up, sports was really important to me, and up to even a few years ago, I was still playing basketball, fortunately. But business is competing, sales is competing, marketing is competing. So I love to compete. I love getting up every morning and competing. But I only want to compete in a fair and equitable and
Yes.
ethical manner.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so that's, I'll keep doing this until the day I stop liking to compete. And I don't know when that'll be.
Yeah, I don't see that anytime on the near horizon, Bob. I don't see that anywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's great that you have, a great smart team around you and they inspire you. And I'm a big goal setter, and I enjoy the journey of goal setting, and I enjoy the success and the taste of accomplishing those things too. So very driven like that myself. Well, Bob, I really appreciate your spending time with us in the audience today.
Of course.
Thank you. And again, Bob Murphy, Chief Revenue Officer of Patra Corporation. If you want to reach out to Bob, LinkedIn's probably the best. You'll find him at Bob Murphy at Patra on LinkedIn. He'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear from you. Bob, thank you again. I hope you have a great 2023.
Thanks a lot, Kevin. Great seeing you, and best to you in 2023 as well.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the Growth Fire podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.